Hello and welcome to another tropical update from Cayman Hurricane Center. I'm Adam McDoom. Tonight we are talking about two areas of interest in the Atlantic Basin. As you see here on our satellite imagery here, we have our former tropical depression number 4, which had came up across the Atlantic here and had ended up here. Weakened down to remnant low from about this point here, and then started to re-energize itself from this point here, currently located right here. And we also have another area of interest, a tropical wave located right here, which is being monitored for possible tropical development as it moves on westwards. Currently, the National Hurricane Center is giving the tropical wave a 10% chance over the next 5 days, so relatively low chance. Models have been dibbling and dabbling with the idea of it developing. Some of the models have dialed it back quite a bit since the late week and into weekend, and there's a chance it could develop, but chances look pretty low at this point. So here it is, National Hurricane Center giving it a 10% chance as it moves off towards the west. Areas to be impacted by this system are areas such as Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Barbados, Martinique, possibly as far north as Dominica and Guadeloupe. And beyond there, well, let's get with the next 3 to 5 days first before we go beyond that point. But it should enter the Eastern Caribbean and head in a general west to west-northwest direction. The GFS model, which I had showed up on the update yesterday, or rather early this morning, had a really potent hurricane or storm going through the southeast Caribbean and ending up on here at the end of the run, at the end of the 5-day run. However, since then the model has backed off, only showing at the most amount tropical depression. So it has really backed off since then, and other models have been backing off. One or two models still do indicate some sort of development. I think the last time I saw earlier today, the only model that really sort of developed it was the outer nest of the HWRF model that's currently running on the former tropical depression. The outer nest had indicated that, recognized that there would be something developing here. But then again, HWRF is mainly good for the system that it's designated for. So keeping that in mind. But in terms of our tropical depression, our former tropical depression, should I say, it's been a very interesting day or two because since it had lost its low-level center around here, it has started to regain that. I've watched it very closely over the weekend. It had regained its low-level circulation and was spread out with convection, not really too organized, but really started picking up from this point onwards. And right now it's not too bad. It's not too great either, but it's a bit better than where it was when it was down here. So they have redesignated and now rerunning models on this. And so for this system, the track is generally off towards the west to west-northwest, and should end up becoming an issue possibly for South Florida, for the Bahamas, possibly northern Cuba, the Florida Straits, and then a little bit later down the timeline, it has taken it to the Gulf of Mexico, and my apologies for that. It seemed like my thing had glitched out there for a second. Took it into the Gulf of Mexico and taking it west-northwest towards the north-central Gulf. So here's the models as mentioned with general track. Up towards the west and generally west-northwest more or less thereafter. So South Florida, Cuba, Bahamas to be expecting some rainy conditions, some gusty winds here and there, and then into the Gulf of Mexico, and obviously anywhere from Florida to Louisiana and even parts of Texas should keep close eye on this. The intensity models running on this does take this up to tropical storm intensity somewhere within that range here. Some of them trying to hint on possible hurricane intensity. I don't think it's going to become a hurricane. It'd be lucky enough even if it makes it to tropical storm intensity, or if it even redevelops at all. So, but yeah, gusty conditions, rain, clouds, rough seas for these areas here over the coming days. So other than that, it's pretty much quiet, really, other than a little bit of activity in the Eastern Pacific. Overall, worldwide, the activity has been relatively meager, except for the Atlantic and most recently, the Eastern Pacific. So other than that, there's not really much else to talk about. Models aren't really picking up too much in the long range, either on anything notable. Even in the medium range, nothing too notable. But what I will be talking about in an update soon would be about the overall conditions in the Atlantic Basin going forward for the rest of the hurricane season, also going into some more into the forecast outlooks for the rest of the season, as well as coming up on the 15th, I'll be updating my hurricane season forecast that I had earlier done in June. I'm updating that. Yeah, and so, yeah, it's just a matter of now just looking at what's going to be ahead overall for the rest of the season, and yeah, there's nothing else to really talk about except for the areas in Bahamas, Florida, Cuba that will be affected by some generally gusty, stormy conditions. Whether or not it develops, I'll keep you updated on that, and some general stormy conditions possible within this area here as this system moves west. Other than that, nothing too drastic to speak about. If the models do pick up on this system again and there's more model agreements and so on as we get closer, I'll definitely keep you updated on that situation, as well as the situation with former tropical depression 4. And yeah, overall pretty much quiet. Few tropical waves moving through the area here, maybe giving some isolated thunderstorm activity to areas like isolated heavy thunderstorm conditions, should I say, to areas like Hispaniola, Cuba, South America, Central America, Jamaica. Would expect a few isolated thunderstorms here and there, as well for the Cayman Islands. So other than that, nothing really much else. All right, so that'll be it for me, Adam McDoom for Cayman Hurricane Center. I'll be back with another update sometime later this week. I was initially planning to do updates twice daily on this system, but since models have kind of dropped the ball on this, I'll update if there's any major changes that occurs. Anyway, that's it from me. Have a good evening.